It's a true story from WWII. A U.S. Navy carrier-based aircraft, during its return journey, suddenly lost its way, and its radio signal also malfunctioned. To locate the aircraft carrier, they quickly estimated its approximate position by observing the area's air currents and waves. However, the result was completely unexpected. After flying for half an hour, they still hadn't spotted any sign of the carrier. Even worse, the plane's fuel tank was almost empty. To contain altitude, the captain ordered the bombardier to drop their carefully preserved bomb. But even this didn't seem to last long. Soon, Captain Mark informed the two crew members behind him that he had to descend before the plane's fuel ran out completely. He told them to quickly gather essential items and prepare for an emergency landing at sea. For the crew, this was their first encounter with such an emergency, so they were extremely nervous. Despite this, they quickly prepared everything. Mark began to lower the plane's altitude. Those familiar with flying would know that even a slight deviation in angle upon contacting the sea surface could cause the fuselage to instantly tumble. Fortunately, Mark had years of flying experience. This landing was simply perfect. Aside from Paschal sustaining a minor injury, Mark and Aldrich were unharmed, and the plane showed no signs of breaking apart. Even so, the plane would sink soon, so they quickly opened the upper hatch. As soon as Mark jumped out, he immediately began to open the lifeboat. The other two, meanwhile, searched for needed items. Soon, Paschal discovered that his seatbelt seemed stuck. Combined with the plane's rapid descent, they were quickly submerged by the seawater. Luckily, after much struggling, he finally managed to unbuckle his seatbelt. He immediately inflated his life vest and swam towards the surface. His companions had also managed to collect some items at that moment. Two of them quickly escaped in the few seconds before the plane completely sank into the seabed. Afterwards, the three introduced themselves to each other under the cover of night. After a brief acquaintance, they all believed that a rescue plane would arrive the next day, so they weren't overly worried. The next morning, the first thing they did was pretend to drink their first cup of coffee and happily chatted about their previous professions, still unaware of how perilous their current situation was. For an unknown period, they finally saw a rescue plane, but Mark quickly realized that the rescue plane's flight path was similar to theirs. This meant it would likely not fly far before returning due to insufficient fuel. So Mark immediately told Paschal to put the parachute on the water to attract the rescuers' attention. To his surprise, Paschal said they hadn't brought a parachute. Mark was speechless. He could only immediately tell Aldrich nearby to fire a signal flare. Expectedly, Aldrich also stated that he hadn't had time to bring one. In this urgent situation, Mark could only tell everyone to quickly pick up objects and wave them around, hoping to draw the rescuers' attention. As a result, after 2.5 minutes of frantic shouting, they could only watch helplessly as the rescue plane returned due to insufficient fuel. This situation instantly made everyone unable to accept it. However, in the vast ocean, they had no other options. The captain, Mark, knew that from now on, they could only rely on themselves. No more rescue planes would come, so he told everyone to take out all their belongings and take inventory. To their dismay, after counting, they found no food and no water, only some simple tools. Paschal also discovered that the lifeboat was manufactured in 1937, 4 years ago, and he wasn't sure how long it would last. For this, Mark told them to take off their shoes to minimize weight. After they threw their leather shoes overboard, they turned to find Mark had kept his own shoes. They were a little confused. Mark told them that if they found land eventually, someone would need shoes to go and seek rescue, right? Hearing this explanation, they agreed. Soon, evening arrived. Mark was overwhelmingly thirsty. Helpless, he could only collect his urine in his shoe and took a small sip. Surprisingly, he quite liked the taste, then drank several large gulps. Aldrich, watching from the side, felt sick, thinking he would rather die of thirst than use such a method to quench it. On the third day, the first thing they did upon waking was still to pretend to drink a cup of coffee. But this only made them hungrier. Mark knew they couldn't continue like this. They had to find something to eat. So he told them to search through their supplies to see if there was anything for fishing. Aldrich rummaged inside and only found a roll of fishing line. Paschal found a bullet clip. For examining it, he quickly came up with an idea. First, he removed the bullets, then took out the spring. Using pliers, he snipped off a section of the spring, then bent it into the shape of a fishhook and tied it to the fishing line. Next, he tied the pliers to the line as a sinker. Then, he tore off a piece of a red scarf and attached it to the hook as bait. Just like that, a simple fishing rig was complete. Seeing such a unique fishing setup, Aldrich couldn't wait. He took it and quickly cast the rig into the sea. As a fishing novice, he wondered if it was beginner's luck. The two pulled together for less than 2 seconds when the line suddenly snapped.